Hi, this is Mike Jensen again, and I'm here to show you selection tools in Photoshop, which ones I like to use and how they work. So let's get right into it. I'm going to pull over the selection toolbar, and this is actually the entire toolbar, but the selection tools are the ones that I have arranged to be on top. And remember, I did that by clicking on Edit and going into Toolbar to do that. I use the Move tool quite a bit, and if you notice when I hold my mouse over it, there's a flyout that just kind of shows you a little bit of a quick tip on how that works. If I press my mouse button down, I get the flyout menu, and I get a variety of different tools that I can use in here. The Move tool, Rectangular tool, and the Elliptical Marquee tool. So if I take a selection with the Rectangular tool, and just make a selection there and grab with the Move tool, look what it's going to do. It's going to move things around. It's going to clip things. All right, now let me get rid of that. To get rid of your selection, you hit Command D on the keyboard or Control D on your Windows keyboard. The next group is probably the most important ones we'll use: the Quick Selection tool, the Magic Wand tool, and I use the Lasso tool quite a bit as well. The Quick Selection tool is really pretty easy. It's controlled by the bracket keys on your keyboard. You hit the right one to make it larger, the left one to make it smaller. And if I just click on here, I make a selection. Look how quickly I can make a selection of this background here and really got a pretty darn good selection of this balloon. Again, Command D to deselect. The next tool is the Magic Wand tool. Most of the Magic Wand tools, I think, are being downloaded in the point sample sample size. What point sample means clearly is just 1 point. It's not actually 1 pixel, but it's just like 1 point. If you can see over here, that's not a very big selection. It's maybe a dozen and a half pixels, something like that. So let's back out and I'll show you how to change the settings on that. All right, go into Point Sample and click down and then use 3x3 or 5x5. You might want something larger, but just be careful how many samples you select. I'm going to go with 5x5. And when I click on that, you can see that the sample size is much, much larger. If I want to add to that with the Magic Wand tool, I just hold down the Shift key and it adds to it plus. But you can see it's really missing a lot of pixels in there, so it's probably not the most accurate tool to use, although I'll show you some circumstances where it does come in helpful. Again, Command D to deselect. The last one that I use a lot is the Lasso tool. I'm just going to hold down my mouse button, go in here and make a selection of this guy's head, and again I can do with it whatever I want to, things like that, or move it to another area and do a composite with that. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Background Eraser tool, and then I'm going to get into the brush. The Background Eraser tool, here it is really easy to work with. All you do is click the plus in the background. And it's probably better to click than to drag, although dragging works as well. You just have to not get ahead of yourself. See, I'm dragging here. And okay, there it started to bottom out, so I had to go back to clicking. Okay, so not a bad idea, but again, you are erasing. And you really don't want to do too much erasing there. So what I'm going to do, guess what I can do? I can click on Windows, I can click on History, bring that History palette over here, and I can go back to where I was before I started the Background Eraser tool. And look at that. How helpful is that? And in the preferences area, you can set up how many iterations back your history tool will go. Now, let's get into the brush for a moment. I'm going to make a quick selection here with the quick selection tool, just like that. Let's just get around and make this all the way around. There we go. All right, if I click on the brush with black and white in the foreground and background, I want black in the foreground. And if I hit Q on the keyboard, everything that is not selected is red. So I can go in here and I can actually paint with white and make it selected. If I hit Q, you can see that, because remember, the blue is selected. Or I can click on white, or I'm sorry, click on black and make it selected again. And I'm going to zoom in to show you how that's affecting things. Okay, so if I hit Q, here's the selection right now. And if I really want to just refine that quite a bit, let's continue painting with black. Here again, I can hit Q. Okay, we're not quite there. I can keep painting here, and we're good. All right, so remember that what's in red is not selected. So we actually want the inverse of that. There's two ways to do it. When you're making a mask or a selection, you can hit select and go to inverse. Oh, but well, guess what? I can't do that in red, so I have to get rid of the red by clicking or hitting Q. If I hit select and inverse, now I've got a selection of nothing but the balloon. And if I'm in a selection tool like the quick selection tool or the magic wand, I get a set of tools that comes out here. Different attributes that you can work on with the selection tool. If I hit the move tool, I get different attributes for that. If I hit crop, same thing there. Spot healing brush, same thing there. So every time you click on a different tool, you get different attributes up at the top that will help you work with that tool. I'm going to click back on this quick selection tool. So if I take this selection in and I click on the select and mask tool, I can see that I've got some areas here that have not been selected, and I can do some refinements with this refine edge brush tool just by going in here and doing some painting to see how things are going to show up. And I'm going to show you a whole lot more about that. See here we go. Okay. I'm just doing some refining of the edge. And you can see from the marching ants, it's changing here. So if I want to, I can actually take this out to the selection as the selection it is now, or I can click on the drop down and do a layer mask, a new layer, or a new layer with a layer mask. If I click that way, here is our selection. And again, I know it's not perfect, but we're going to go through this in class a number of times. I want you to practice on how to do this at home. That's the idea of this video and this exercise. I'm going to show you a couple of other tools that you can use. And let me just move this over here. If you're in a picture like this, click on the selection tool so that you get these buttons right here, and click on select subject. And I've done this a number of times, so I know what's going to happen. We're going to get everything except for the one bird's belly right down here. You can see that. And you can test this at home as well. All you have to do is take the quick selection tool, drag it over, and you get a pretty good selection. So if I take that into the select and mask tool and I click on new layer with layer mask, look what I get. I'm good to go. Except I forgot one area right here. So all I have to do is go over and grab my magic wand tool and just make a few extra clicks here to get all the pixels in, and then paint it with black. Oops, I forgot to get to the mask. That happens every now and then. And there we go. Now I'm on the mask layer. I hit Command D for deselect, and I'm good to go. Okay, so that's our birds. The last image I want you to work on is the delicate arch image. So I'm going to grab my quick selection tool and just make a very quick selection. All right, I've got all the sky as much as I possibly can. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and just make some refinements here. Oop. There we go. And you can see I'm hitting the minus, using the minus on this, so I'm actually holding down the Option key or the Alt key on my keyboard. And we are getting pretty good right there. Okay. Now remember that we've got the sky selected and we want the sky to be masked out, so we do not want that selected. We want to inverse it. And there we go. So now we can throw in a background. I've got some other little fine-tuning pieces that I'm going to show you in class about that. But this is a quick and dirty on selection tools and how to start doing some masking out and selecting so that you can begin the process of creating your images in layers and composites. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in class. Thanks.